A little bit of drama happening in Tampa. The Bucs defensive tackle Vita Vea has requested a trade. He is in his final year of a 4-year, $71 million contract, and contract negotiations are at a standoff. Last month, he was a hold-in during minicamp. He was there, just in practice. Now, vets are supposed to report to camp today for the Bucs. We'll see what he does. But how much leverage does Vita Vea actually have here? It's training camp. Can he really force their hand at this point?
I think he's the best player on their defense, so I think so. I think they'll pay him, honestly. Now their cap space looks like they only got about $8 million right now for this season. But look, there's obviously ways around that. You just, you extend him, and you give him guaranteed money in other years, and that's really what he's looking for. I tend to believe that this will be done at some point, maybe a week or two in. But they're not gonna let. Look, they have a head coach that is fighting for his job. The GM has a little bit of a leash because he's won a Super Bowl there, Jason Light, and he's done a pretty good job. He's had them competitive even post Tom Brady. So I tend to believe that they're going to pay him. I would be shocked if they don't pay him.
I don't know. I'm not as convinced as you. I don't think shocking would be the thing. And simply because two things. You just brought up Jason Light. Like, Jason Light's not going to get fired this year. Now, I don't think he's like, we're going to build they're not going to build a statue of him, but he's not going to get fired. I think that Todd Bowles would be moved, but Todd Bowles isn't the one doing that contract, right? And so Jason Light's probably looking at Vita Vea. And look, I'm a massive Vita Vea fan, and he does kind of unlock a lot of things with their defense. But I don't know that last year he was the player he has been. And the key to this entire conversation, the reason I don't know if it would be shocking to me, is because his cap hit's already $22 million. Like, what is he looking for? You know, he's a player that's been around. I think they signed A'Shawn Robinson this offseason. They have a lot of turnover in their front seven, there's no doubt. You can make the case, like Beau just did, that he's the best defensive player they have, although there's still a couple guys roaming in the secondary that are pretty stout, like Antoine Winfield. But I don't know. Like, I look at it and I go, what exactly do you want? Because you're making $22 million this year. And I, like, as a nose guard who I didn't think had a phenomenal year last year, I'm not really sure what the end game is for him. I don't know. The numbers don't quite add up. And when you start kind of, I went to PFF just to kind of double check a couple of things that I thought about him last year. It's not great. Like, his run defense was, the metric on there is not great. And I thought I saw the same thing last year watching him on tape. So I don't think I'd be shocked. Now, do I think it gets done? Yeah. I think he'll be in Tampa Bay, but I don't think that there's this massive amount of leverage for him, for sure.
But what are the chances? I mean, you said the cap space, Beau, the Falcons have is like $37 million.
Yeah.
So what are the chances?
Well, it's I don't know. I tend to believe that they're not very high because this team is spoken a lot about wanting to keep draft picks and re-sign their own, and then the way to do that is not by going and spending $25 million a year or whatever on an 8-9 year veteran at defensive tackle who Mike thinks is not very good anymore. I'm putting words in his mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the metrics. He did have, this guy had less sacks than he's had since since he was 26. He's 31, I think, or about to be.
Yeah.
31.
So I think if they were a player away, if they had the quarterback's position filled out and they thought they were the run defense away or player away or whatever you want to say, they might go make this move, extend him for a couple years. But that's the other thing. No matter what you do, you have to extend him because you're not
exactly
just, like that's where this gets difficult. You see, it's not just like we'll go sign him or go trade for him, because you're gonna have to give up what they're gonna think is still a premier player, which I think he is still. I do think he's still their best player. I think sometimes guys play a little nicked up when they get older, and that affects them, and maybe they don't have as much help as, they weren't as good. They've lost some pieces on that line the last few years. All that said, he would make your run defense much better.
Yeah.
with some of the pieces you have.
And that's the thing is, like, I don't know that he necessarily fits what Jeff Ulbrich wants in this, attack style penetrating front. He's not really that guy. He's more suited to be kind of a 3-4-0 nose guard. And then you look at the contracts you've handed out and what you've said about how much you value draft picks. I'm not sure where that would kind of line up. You're not gonna. That's my thing. What I keep going back to, is he a really good player? Yes. What is he looking for? Because to me, he's not a $25 million a year player. I guess he's probably looking for more guaranteed money down the road and can stretch that out a little bit, which would make sense for both parties, and maybe they'll get there. But as far as like what we would need to give up plus what you need to pay him, there's just no way. Not to mention interdivision trades almost never happen anymore.
He's looking. That's the bottom line is these guys, they just want guaranteed money, and look, he's at the end of his deal, right? So that's where it's all about. I just think about the fact that you do have that, and you're going to have cap space moving forward. But is he would a 31-year-old D tackle and then paying him to be 34, 35? Because that's probably where you would get to, or at least 34, right? You pay him for a few years. Is that more important than making sure that you can re-sign if Divine Diablo balls out? Or, what happens in the quarterback position? What if Tua, somebody asked me the other day, well, what if Tua, just has a great year? And I was like, well, I mean, you're kind of between, if they go like win 10 games with Tua and he plays all year, you're going to have to pay him.
Well, if a deal did get done, not with the Falcons, but outside of the Falcons, outside of the division, you take Vita Vea out of Tampa's defense. How does that bode for the Falcons?
Very well.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you want to talk about, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're going to flip over and talk about offensive players on their last leg. Ryan Newsell's prospects of staying with the Falcons long term take a massive leap if he's not blocking Vita Vea twice a year. Like, that is an absolute kryptonite for him. In a lot of different ways. And so, I would say it bodes well. I mean, he's the kind of guy that at times over the last few years and over the course of his career that has absolutely taken over your ability to run the football. And as much as I think that he's not quite the player last year that he was in years past, I don't think that's going anywhere in terms of what the Falcons need to do. And anytime you got a guy like Bijan Robinson, any kind of ding you can get, especially after Levante David retires, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction for the Falcons, no doubt.
Well, we'll see if Vita Vea shows up for training camp today. He is supposed to report today. Football coverage on 92.9 The Game is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years, guaranteed Xfinity. Imagine that.